Welcome to 33 Founders, a series about founders of the coolest startups. Brought to you by 33 Voices and hosted by Chase Jennings and Jenna Abdul.
Basically, our mission is to enable all households to eat healthier. And the best way to do that is if you're eating vegetables, fruit, fresh stuff that you'll find in the outer walls of a supermarket. And the way to get the freshest stuff is to get it local. So as a result of that mission, we basically are helping farms deliver their amazing produce to consumers. And the approach that we take is offering consumers not limitless, because we are trying to do this based on seasonal items, but the best quality stuff that they can find in their areas, and to be able to get that from multiple farms, just like a farmer's market experience, but basically do all the work of bringing all those farms together and their amazing produce so that you can get exactly what you want when you want it.
Absolutely, and I know right now Farmigo users go 48 hours after harvest and they all meet at a local meeting place where they can pick up their produce. Are you guys looking into home deliveries at any point?
Yeah, so we actually think that community pickup is not just about finding a convenient way to get it to you, but also making a connection not just to the farmers, but also to people in your area. And it also reduces the logistics costs, so the savings is what we can pass that to the consumer. So our pickup locations kind of become events. And we have what we call champions that are managing these locations. We call them food communities. And these champions are able to get 10% of all sales being generated through those communities. So we end up having all these champions that are going out, helping us spread the word, helping us connect to many consumers in their area, and then they manage these food communities. So we're really a platform for anybody who wants to be a food entrepreneur to kind of launch their own business.
Absolutely, that's awesome.
So you've been in tech for over 15 years. What encouraged you to make the shift to the food industry?
I'd like to think I'm still in technology. What we have bringing to this is how you leverage technology in order to be able to connect so many different farmers with so many different consumers. I don't think what we're doing would have been possible even 3 years ago, right? The technologies that we have around social networks and the ability to run really complex systems on the internet for relatively cheaply. The number of people that have smartphones and are connected to the internet. All these things make the kind of business that we're doing, which at the end of the day, it's connecting farmers with consumers, possible. Of course, there is a big food logistics issue here, but we're really bringing a lot of partners to help us run those logistics. And that's also a way that we can support local communities. There's already plenty of companies that help with logistics and deliveries. We just need to have the smart intelligence so that things are very efficient, so that it can be affordable for the consumer and give the farmer a better price on what they're growing.
Since you founded in 2009, Benzie, you've received tons of funding, and today over 3,500 Farmigo communities have been created. So when you're looking back on these past 4 years, what are you most proud of?
I think we're just in the beginning as an industry and as a company. It's hard to look back and say I'm proud of this, because I really think we're still in the infancy stage, and that gives us the perspective I'm kind of done and I'm proud of something. So I can look at it more from a personal journey. I'm proud of the team that we put together, and I love walking in and seeing them together. I'm proud that I've been able to have 2 kids in the time period since I started Farmigo, and been able to aggressively build a business as well as be a good father and a good husband. And those are the things right now that I'm proud of. Hopefully when you talk to me in 5 years, we can also say that we've actually had a huge impact on getting people to eat healthier and support sustainable farms. Another thing I'm proud of is we're going to be one of the first benefits corporation that is based in Delaware. Delaware is just passing that legislation on August 1st, and we've already got all the legal documents signed by our investors to make that a reality, and that's no simple feat either. So that those are the kind of things that I'm proud of. But the journey is still much more ahead than behind.
That's all exciting stuff. Now, you're in a pretty relatively new space. What steps did you take in the beginning to test the waters? Did you put out an MVP initially, or how did you start out?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're constantly testing. That's part of our DNA, and we've done a lot of different things. So we started off by providing farms with software to go direct. So CSAs, Community Support Agriculture, and we have hundreds of farms across the country using that software. And even through that, I'd go out to farms, I'd meet with them, and better understand their business, their considerations. Then we kind of took the next step and said, how do we make farms even more successful? And that was about trying to help them reach new segments. So if you're someone who does subscribe to a CSA, which is great, you're someone who's supporting farms. But we interviewed many more people. That's only about 1% of the population. So 99% of the population is really not buying direct from farms, unless they go occasionally to a farmer's market. So we started to ask ourselves, how do we get access to that group? And through that thought process, we really launched our food communities. And that's also been a process where we try to better understand how we can be more convenient, more affordable, express the values that we have to our consumers, so that they better identify with what it is we're doing. And we launched food communities at workplaces, at gyms, at restaurants, at community centers. And what we really came up with was that we needed the help of champions that were already out there, non-Farmigo employees, because we constantly were meeting people who said, hey, I want to be part of this. I'm a food entrepreneur. What role can I take? And from that, we really launched the champion model, where we said, you know what, you guys are going to be better at reaching your own communities than we can ever be, because you are of those communities. You know the people personally. You can create an experience. Instead of us being an outsider coming in and trying to launch a community and create that experience, you're actually, you know the social fabric, and you can make this an integral part of every person's life. Whether you're a nutritionist and you want to have your own value add on top of what Farmigo is doing, which is guiding people to eat healthier. Whether you're a chef and you can demonstrate what it is you can make each week with the stuff that you're getting. Whether you're just like somebody who is incredibly passionate about this space and wants to create a unique food community, maybe for a kosher community. There's a lot of different flavors this can be taken into, and we're super excited now that we kind of have turned ourselves into a platform for other food entrepreneurs.
Well, you've definitely got two champions here who are ready to spread it to San Diego. But when you're looking back on this time 4 years ago, is there something you wish you could have known that would have helped you accomplish your goals even faster today?
So this gets into like the advice I'd love to get through your community of experts. I think there's two different areas that I'd be interested in getting help in, and they both have to do with the psychology of people. One is we are a platform for food entrepreneurs, and how do we get people to be willing to take a risk and venture out to do something that they've never done before? I think that's really what entrepreneurship is about. Most people kind of fall to the default, which is somebody else is taking the risk, some large corporation, they get their paycheck, they come in and they're given a framework in which to work in. And it's a perceived safety net. Even though the corporation can fire you whenever they want, and as we've seen, they do, it's perceived that that's the kind of safe way to go. So I'd love to know how we can reach out in an effective way to people who their dream is to be a food entrepreneur, but they haven't had that courage, and how we show them that the steps they can take are smaller, and the upside is potentially huge, and certainly from a personal satisfaction perspective, it's great. But that's one that I'd love, to get more insight on. And I think the other one is, we're all about getting people to eat healthier. And everybody says that they want to eat healthy, but they don't end up acting on it. It's kind of like, beginning of the year, you say you want to go to the gym and work out, and this is the year that, you're going to meet that milestone. You even sign up for the gym, right? And you pay that gym membership. But then, maybe even you go a few times in January, February, come March, you're not doing it anymore. So it really is a lifestyle change. you first have to get somebody to say, wow, I really, not only am I motivated to eat healthy, I actually am going to take the steps to do that. I'll give you an example. Eating seasonally is something that we've become accustomed not doing anymore. We go into a supermarket and we just see, the same stuff year round, so we've even forgotten what it is to eat with the seasons. That's a real compromise to some respect, to not eat avocados year round, but just when they're in season. I think the flip side is that if you are eating something that's in season, that's when it tastes the best, that's when it's freshest. And if you can start to change your diet to kind of map to the seasons, you have a whole personal satisfaction. But I talk about this all the time. Everyone's like, yeah, I'm into that. I'm bought in. But then, it's much harder for them on the day-to-day life when they're so busy and, their kids are nagging and they have different activities they want to do at night. Somehow this can fall off their priority level. So how you get someone to change their lifestyle patterns is also something that I think I could greatly benefit from.
You've mentioned a lot about the process, and I know that Farmigo is a really multifaceted thing. When you're working with farmers, you're working with community members, you're really working with so many people with a big mission. How do you constantly keep yourself on track?
It's a tough one. I think one of the things we're fortunate about is that we're in an exciting area. So we get a lot of people also that come to us and say, let's work together, or let's try something new. Also internally, our employees, are also coming with different ideas. I wake up in the morning and have a new idea, and I think a startup at the end of the day gets killed when it's diluted because it has such few resources. So we actually have spent a lot of time trying to figure out what are the few things that we can be the best at, and those need to become the absolute focus for everybody in the company. And that's almost the easier part. The harder part is then starting to decide what you're not going to do. Because a lot of time, you spend 90% of your time saying what you are going to do, and then a little bit of time spending maybe what you're not going to do. I think you almost have to flip it around and say, let's spend 10% of the time deciding what we're going to do, and then 90% of the time actually executing on what we're not going to be doing, and talking to people about saying, how can we strip everything else away? So what? Some things are going to fall. Some people might not be happy. Not everybody is going to love that we're starting to focus, but long-term wise, this is going to pay off. And that's a much harder activity to do. Hopefully we're getting better at that.
Now, based on the success that we've seen, it's pretty clear that you really are getting the best out of your people. So what's one of the most important lessons you've learned about managing?
So I think at the end of the day, everybody, hopefully you're hiring super smart, passionate people, and you need to give them an understanding of what the framework they're in, and then let them innovate, explore, and be empowered to do what they think is needed. It reduces management, because it takes a lot of energy and time to micromanage, and nobody likes to be micromanaged. So if you can really set the framework up right, then I think it ends up being a win for everybody. It comes back to the question you guys asked earlier, which is, how do you get some focus? And that's what I mean by a framework. If people can align on what we need to be doing as a company, and also what we should not be doing as a company, because I think that's what defines your borders at the end of the day, is discussing what we should not be doing, and then I think it can really work well.
So Benzie, let's pretend that we're sitting here and we're having this conversation, and it's July of 2014. What accomplishments will define a successful year for Farmigo?
So I think 2014 becomes the year that we start to expand. 2013 for us was really the year of experimentation, and keeping ourselves small enough so that we could really be in touch with all customers, and see what was working and what wasn't working. So in 2014, I'm hoping that I'm talking to you guys, and we're talking about you guys becoming champions in San Diego, and that we're launching a few hundred communities in San Diego, as well as many other regions, because we've already figured out the right offering that works for customers and for farmers, that can also be scaled in a way that's economically effective for everybody.
You mentioned having a time of experimentation, that 2013 you guys were just trying new things. And I think a lot of times people who are starting businesses are nervous to do that. They want to get the perfect product out right away. What advice would you give someone to just take some time to see what works and what doesn't?
I don't know what a perfect product is, and I don't think you ever get there. So I think that's I'm in the software industry, and no matter what company I've worked in, big or small, we never reached perfection. And software, by definition, is a living and breathing experience. And maybe that's part of what we bring to this industry. Is there is something that's pretty close to a perfect tomato or a perfect carrot. And you can try to aspire to grow that and get pretty close to it. The world that I come from is you're never going to get there because things are changing so quickly. There'll be the next mobile device, the next software system, the next platform, the next way for us to communicate with one another. So it's a constant evolution. And so we went into this saying, okay, what's working, what's not working, and then you go from there. Okay, this is kind of working, that's not working. Let's try more of this. Let's try more of that. So I would say it's more of making a recipe. But there's no one's looking for perfection on our side.
Now, although Farmigo seems like a simple concept, tons of factors are actually playing in the role of connecting farmers with consumers. So maybe in under a minute, Benzie, can you give some advice for entrepreneurs who are starting a multifaceted business to stay on track?
Yes, I don't know if it doesn't seem simple to me to run Farmigo, but I guess that's a good thing that it seems simple from where you guys stand. I think the best thing an entrepreneur can do is to start off really, really small and very local to where they are. I think it's the scariest thing because you're doing a lot of things that don't seem like they're going to scale, right? And as a business person, you're saying, how is this going to make money if I'm actually packing the box myself, if I'm actually delivering it myself to the customer? And it's true, that doesn't scale, but what you do get is a lot of personal interaction with customers. You get to see where things are working and breaking. You start to really get that intuitive understanding of the business. And once you get that, you start to know how you can go about outsourcing things, creating partnerships. As you bring other people into the company, you have kind of a first-hand experience on how to kind of do that knowledge transfer and sharing. You become part of the culture of the company because it starts at the ground level. It's not, you don't create culture in a meeting room. You create culture when you're out there with the customer. So that's I would tell someone, don't worry about scaling right now. Worry about creating just an awesome experience and solving a problem that wasn't solved before.